going to be the facilitator for this session today, talking about waste management on the ground. We really want to understand what really goes on. We want to understand waste management from municipalities' view or from the City of Cape Town's view. And then we also want to understand waste in terms of real people and real life experiences that are on the ground. Our webinars run on a monthly basis. So once a month we have a webinar, and just before the webinar, maybe the Monday, we have a back to basics workshop. Those are normally uploaded on YouTube, so please do check them out. What we aim to do there is to break down concepts such as waste, understand it, and then be able to talk about it or be able to have further engagements about waste. So I'm really, really excited about today's conversation. One of our panelists is Mayedwa from the City of Cape Town, and the second is Happy Mbewe from Malawi, also an African Climate Alliance ambassador. Very, very excited. I've spoken quite a bit, so I am going to ask Happy if you can please introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, my dear colleagues. I am Happy Mbewe, and I'm reporting from Malawi. I'm pleased to be with you this evening in this webinar, and I'm going to be one of the panelists in this webinar. Happy Mbewe is from Malawi, and I am African Climate Alliance ambassador. Yeah, so let's be together. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Happy. Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. Happy, I would want to understand, can you maybe try to explain your experiences with waste in Malawi? Can you paint a picture of how that maybe looks like for us to maybe understand? And then I'd be very, very interested to also know how waste has impacted people and their quality of living.
Thank you so much, my friend. Let me start my part with the quote. And this quote, I quote from Jane Goodall, who said, "How is it that we can destroy the only planet that we have? How is it that we can destroy the planet that we have, the only planet that we have?" So let that be the point of meditation throughout the discussion. So to start the topic, waste management, when we talk of waste, we define waste as unwanted. We define waste as unwanted or unusable material. We can also define waste as any substance. Now, when we talk of waste scenario in Malawi, I'll try to compare it with other countries. Malawi being one of the countries which we call them to be LCDs, least developed countries, or can also be named as developing countries in general. Waste management is always a problem, because when we see how waste is handled, we find out that there are mainly three ways which we can handle waste. There is the first method, which we call end of pipe waste management. End of pipe waste management, or in other terminologies, they call it end of use or end use waste management. This is a kind of waste management in which you produce waste, you collect the waste and dump it somewhere. And when you see this equation, this is the major scenario with Malawi. In our country, right now, what we do, for example, the municipalities or the city councils, when they come to collect the garbage, they'll collect the garbage and dump it at a landfill, and that is the end of use. So this scenario or this system is mostly used, of course, globally, but is worse in the developing countries. Now, when the countries started to think, to say, but is this a proper way of discarding our waste? Should we just be collecting the waste and dump it somewhere and go home to produce another waste and dump it somewhere and go home again? And that trend should be keeping going like that? Is that sustainable? So there is another method which is now being used, which now they call it zero waste. Zero waste. In this concept, the idea is we should have no waste. That's the main idea. So what they do in this one is that they collect the waste, and after collection, it is either reused, reduced, or recycled. So when we talk of zero waste, there are three main concepts to achieve that thing. We should either reduce production of waste. If we fail to reduce, we should reuse, or else we should recycle. Now, the critics of waste management, particularly on zero waste management, some critics say this is an ideal goal. It's more like a hard target. It's more or very hard to achieve, because maybe it's so difficult to achieve a zero waste. But still more, it is necessary because it gives a big goal to which all nations or all individuals or all parties should strive to achieve: zero waste. For example, when we see some data, during this period of coronavirus, for example, this corona era, reports are showing that production of plastics has increased, and it has doubled actually. But out of these plastics, only 9% is being recycled. So we can imagine globally, the production of and use of plastics has doubled. But out of that quantity, only 9% is being recycled. Now, where is the 91% going? So we can see, are we there on the zero waste? We see that we have a big journey to go. For example, some data from United States, they say they call it United States Environment Protection Agency. They have calculated that almost by 2040, the discharge of plastics into the sea will double, will actually triple. By 2040, the discharge of plastics into the ocean will triple. So we are talking of right now, the production has doubled. Only 90% is being recycled. 91%, it means it's being dumped somewhere. But by 2040, that 91% is the trend is to continue like that and change. It means to triple. So we can imagine how will be the marine life by then. So when we go to the third method of waste management, is this new one, which they call it waste to energy. On this phenomena, they try to say, okay, what other use can we put our waste? So it's like the idea is to take the waste and burn it for energy. So it has got some importances because you collect the waste, you select the solid ones, and then use them for in the energy sector. it is digested, and then its energy used in the homes. For
if
example,
I can quickly ask, Happy,
yes,
if you allow
yes,
me,
thank you.
you mentioned three ways, of which I think the whole world currently as a whole is currently mainly doing the first method, which is end use waste management.
Yes.
We use something and then we dump it. The second one, I'd be very, very interested to know and understand how practical that actually is in terms of developing countries such as Malawi. Because you would find that, here's an example. You have bale, large bags of clothes, secondhand and the like, that are coming from other countries off the continent and coming here. And we know that secondhand clothing has a very big market in Africa. And if we start talking zero waste, would we then be crippling some of those sectors which contribute to the economies of these countries? And
Yes.
then lastly, on the last point, the energy, waste to energy, how practical is that in terms of developing countries? Again, because I can imagine that we would need to have a lot of resources. We would also need to find a way to arrive to energy to waste without hindering the environment.
Yes. All right. Thank you for that question. Because when we are handling the issues to do with environment, the crew is one. And the crew is, we should stop, entirely stop, making economic gain over life. That's the underline. So no matter what we do, but life should not be at the losing side. Therefore, for example, you are asking about, you are on the zero waste, on zero waste, we are talking of reducing the production, or the production of waste, reusing and recycle. Normally, when you say we want to reduce, surely some companies have to close, really have to close. For example, in Malawi, recently, we have seen the closure of Perhe Plastic Limited company in Malawi. The company has been closed by the court because it continued to produce plastics, even after the parliament passed a law to say no more production of plastics. Of course, there was some specified type of plastics that were prohibited. So the company sued against the law, but it lost the case and it has been closed. That is on reducing. Now, when we talk of, for example, some businesses, how many businesses have lost on this game? You see that there were some vendors who were mainly surviving on the selling of plastic bags or plastic papers. With the closure or the prohibition of the law, the amendment of the law, it means those companies have to close. But still more, we have a chance to go on, because when we are saying we should reduce and some companies are actually going to close, at the same time, we have to open green job. So when we talk green jobs, we are talking of companies should be or how they can invest in a green way. We have got some businesses. The same bags that we make from plastics can be made from wool, can be made from cotton. These stuffs, you see that they're different from plastic papers, because these ones are biodegradable. At least they can degrade easily or can be used to other purposes. Unlike plastics, which can live for hundreds of years and decompose in the soil. Now, the scenario, for example, in Malawi, when you ask me about the scenario, I can say we are still on the level one, end use waste management, because there is no tangible data to show that we recycle our waste. So right now what we are using is the most precise method of handling waste, which is end of pipe or end use, where we are just collecting the stuff and dumping it or taking the dump the waste and dump it in the rivers, which is not nice.
Let me ask.
For example, last time, yes.
Sorry to just cut you there. I am trying to understand how waste in itself affects. Now we know from reading and the like, we will read up on how waste would impact, wildlife, like the dumping of waste into rivers. We know that we are going to have a lot of animals and organisms who perish because of that. And I'm interested to know how people on the ground in Malawi are affected by the mismanagement or the failure to manage waste. And what is government doing, or what are municipalities doing in order to ensure that people, the regular person on the street or on the ground, is able to have access to maybe a clean environment to live? And what are some of the steps that they're taking to ensuring that waste does not interfere with the quality of life of a person in Malawi?
All right, thank you so much. All right, for example, last month we had a youth meeting in Zomba, where we met with the different policymakers, and we gave them what we want the government to do. Actually, to answer your question, when we study the earth itself is a system. Actually, it is a multi-system. So the way earth is, it uses, or we can say it is a fan of the theory of karma. So we can say so. And when you study the theory of karma, it says it talks something like cause and effect. What you give is what you receive. Actually, with the current system of handling waste that we use, which is usually and normal and currently end of pipe waste management, what we are getting is what we are putting, because the system itself is that what you give it is what it will come back to you. For example, we have had many cases of infections attacking people living near to the dump sites. In my city where I live, we have got a big dump site. The first one was closed because it reached its stress level. It became full. They opened another one. But actually, what will happen is when you take the waste into these landfills, come the rainy season, you find the whole landfill in the river. And what is that the wildlife is at the end, at the poor side. The water quality is destroyed. We have a river near me which has totally changed its color and its smell because of such a kind of handling the waste. That's why during that meeting, we had some points that we presented to them, say, can we start to think in a different way? Otherwise, this system is not doing us any favor. We have done many recommendations. For example, we also advised the engineers, because we invited them to this meeting, say, let's look at how we are designing our houses. Now we were on water use. You see that people, mostly when it comes to using the toilet, we flush the toilet with the clean water. and someone will go to the sink and brush his teeth or her teeth with the tap open. We said, can we start to educate the people to say, let us use a cup when brushing the teeth. Now we were on reducing. We want to reduce.
Right.
And also, when it came to the same point of reducing, we say, can we, you, the engineers, start designing the houses in such a way that the water from the sink can be collected and diverted to the toilet tank so that someone can use that water for flushing instead of using some clean water, which is also expensive. So we gave them several points. So as youths in our club, we tried to give them some points to say, can you go and look at that? Sure.
And I can imagine how influential youth tend to be. But at this time, I'd like to allow Mayedwa to maybe speak from the perspective of the city or waste management resources. And so Happy, thank you so much for that. I'd love to hear what Mayedwa you think on the topic that we have, or if you would like to start off with your presentation and then move into the discussion.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Can you hear me, guys? Please respond if you can hear me.
We can hear you perfectly.
Oh, thank you very much. Can you, Michelle, can you please, I would rather maybe just start with my presentation, maybe instead of just focusing on the resources and the infrastructure, since my presentation is actually covering all of that. Can I actually start with my presentation, please?
Yes, you can. And here we are. Okay, can everyone see the screen?
Yes, I can see from my side.
Yes.
Perfect. Mayedwa, take it away.
Thank you very much, and apologies with the technology. It seems me and technology are not that our best friends. First, let me introduce myself. Mayedwa Perhe from Solid Waste, City of Cape Town. And my section and my two colleagues, which is Asta and Yonela, which I actually asked them as well to join. We are actually responsible for awareness, education, and communication across the city of Cape Town, basically. And I'm just going to go through my presentation. Next slide. Next slide, Michelle. Okay. What is Solid Waste City of Cape Town is actually I'm doing. As City of Cape Town's Solid Waste, we actually responsible. It's actually our responsibility to make sure that we provide the basic services to all the City of Cape Town residents, depending whether you are actually from the formal household or informal household, or as well as removing of the illegal dumping at our open spaces. That's actually our mandate as the City of Cape Town department, Solid Waste. And also my second slide is actually going to focus more on solid waste services, which is what we are actually doing to make sure that we keep our city clean. And of course, no one can actually have a kind of a smooth ride. You always have some kind of challenges. What challenges does Cape Town Solid Waste have, and how do we respond to those kind of challenges? And then the fifth one would be the broader public awareness, education, and communication, which is us. How do we try and change the mental behavior of our community? And the last one would be the communication, and more especially like with the latest technology, whereby we're actually using the advantage of it to try and change their behavior. Thank you. Next slide. Okay. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have like kind of enough time. We've got quite few branches within the department that are actually responsible for making sure that the city is actually clean. The top one is actually disposal, which is responsible for managing facilities like your landfill site, which I believe everybody actually understand what landfill site is. It's more like a big hole where waste is being disposed. But the landfill site is more scientifically built. It's not just a hole whereby you just dispose your waste, because once this waste gets decomposed, it can be a kind of dangerous, and more especially to our underground water. So that is why the landfill site is more scientifically built. So disposal is actually responsible for managing those facilities. And we also have the other facilities that they manage, which is the transfer stations. Transfer stations, we've got 4 transfer stations, which 3 of those transfer stations, they have got material recovery facility. What is the material? What is material recovery facility? A material recovery facility. It's whereby now once this waste is being collected from the household, as raw as it is from our bins, it's been taken to our transfer station, whereby now we've got some people that are actually employed to manually try and recover the recyclables that we can manage to recover. But it's actually difficult because if our communities actually put everything into one bin, then it gets kind of contaminated, even though it can be recycled. But once it gets into the bin and it gets mixed up, and then it gets into the truck, and then it drives distance before it gets into our facilities, then by the time it gets to our facilities, it's kind of contaminated, which makes it difficult for us to extract. We probably managed to extract plus minus 14% of those recyclables within that waste that is being disposed there. And anything that passes now the transfer station, it goes directly to the landfill. That waste, any waste that passes, it goes directly to the landfill site. And then we've got support. Just a terminology. A support is actually the HR, where each and every department or company has got the HR, where now your hiring stands and being conducted. And then we've got finance and commercials. Finance is where now our budget sits, as well as all the requests that come from our residents, because we've got some kind of a communication and open line with our communities, which is via our email address, like Wastewise user, as well as our call center number. And all those requests, if they are waste related, they go to our finance department. And then if they can actually respond to those queries, they respond. And if they can't, then they send to the relevant branch. Like if there is a request for broken or a stolen bin, then they will have to send it to collection to assist with providing a bin to that resident. So that is actually a finance. And then we've got cleansing, which is more like people would regard solid waste as more like cleansing, because they actually, the most guys actually are visible on the road. They are firstly the one waste in our special unit, which is we call specialized cleaning within cleansing, which has got a specialized machine like your grabbers and trucks that is actually responsible for the removal of illegal dumping at these open spaces. They also responsible for the services of the informal settlements, whereby now informal settlements, we're actually giving them a different service to the formal houses. So cleansing is also responsible for the informal settlements services. And also, they're also responsible for the cleaning and sweeping of the road. You probably, if you're from Cape Town, you've seen guys that have got our overalls cleaning the road. And also, there are also green bins that are placed on the road. They're also responsible for making sure those bins kept service. So that is actually cleansing. And then the next one, it's collection. Collection, firstly, we've got facilities to try and as part of waste minimization, we've got facilities that we call drop-off facilities. We've got 26 standalone drop-off facilities closer to our communities, where our communities actually encouraged to take all their recyclables as well as their electronic waste, all your electricity to these drop-off facilities, as well as your builders, as well as your bulk waste like your mattresses that you don't need it anymore. You can actually take it to these drop-off facilities. So we've got 26 drop-off facilities, standalone drop-off facilities, as well at these disposal facilities, which is the landfill site, as well as the transfer station. We also have drop-off facilities in those facilities. So those drop-off facilities are being managed by collection. And also collection, they're responsible for the servicing of our household, which means now they're responsible for collecting of the 240 black willy bins at our communities, which the collection is once a week. That is collection. And then we've got planning, which is where my unit actually comes from. I always call it an engine of solid waste. We kind of provide a kind of a strategic support to the department. Like we've got different units within planning. It's not only public awareness, education, and communication. We also have like units like your waste minimization. The guys that are actually responsible for making sure that they come up with some initiatives to try and minimize waste that goes into our landfill site, because we actually trying to minimize or extend the lifespan of our landfill site, because currently we only have like 2 landfill sites, which is one that is at Coastal Park when you're going to Mbewe if you are a Coptonian, and then one is when you're going to Mbewe, driving down the N7, which is the regional one, which is the biggest one. And the lifespan of these landfill sites, the regional one is plus minus 15 years, and the other one, which is the Coastal Park one, is plus minus 5 years. So that is why we're trying by all means to minimize waste that goes to this landfill site. We also have other units like your IT, which is actually responsible for making sure that anything that is IT related is actually managed properly. We also have business improvement. They look at what we're currently doing and how we can actually improve things by also looking at other municipalities within the city of Cape Town and beyond. Yeah, that is actually, those are actually the units within planning. And then we've got our technical services. Technical services is just a terminology. It's fleet management, where now our trucks, they actually kind of service. Our trucks are actually responsible for servicing the city of Cape Town. And we've got management, which I've already mentioned. Our informal sex management is a unit within cleansing. So they're responsible, they're managing the waste within our informal settlement. And then lastly, we've got our HR business partner, which is more like acting as an advisor to our human resource department. Next slide.
Mayedwa, as we go on to the next slide, I also want you to note that we've got about 25 minutes left on the clock.
Minutes.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, that's just like a notice that I want to give to you.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna try and speed as much as I can. Okay, the next slide is gonna be what services do we offer to the city of Cape Town? Okay, next slide. Okay. If you can kind of look on your right, you can actually see there is a green bin. Those green bins, as I've mentioned, the informal settlements are being serviced by the plastic bags, which you see on your right. But we had a kind of a partnership with water and sanitation, saying that there is a lot of waste that is being forced into our flushing toilets. So those green bins, we put it next to our flushing toilet to try the blocking of our toilets. And then secondly, those green bins are actually also placed on our roads, whereby now you can actually, when you're walking on the road and you're eating something, eating your banana, your chips, instead of littering, you can just keep your waste up until you get closer to a bin, and then you dispose your bin. And then the second one, where you see the guys with the overalls, is actually collection, as I've mentioned. The guys are actually ready for action. They're actually responsible for collecting waste within our formal houses. So that is actually the difference between the formal houses and the informal settlement. The informal settlements, they've been serviced by those blue bags. Each household gets 2 blue bags per week. And the formal settlement, they get 1 bin. But you're actually allowed to apply for an additional bin if you feel like your waste is actually too much. Let's say if you've got some guys that are renting at the back, you've got some flats, definitely 1 bin is not going to be enough. We allow you to apply for an additional bin. We give you a bin for free, but we charge you for the services, which is collecting the waste. And then we've got also those recycling bins on the bottom of your left. Those recycling bins that we've recently launched at the CBD, where we are encouraging our businesses as well as our residents to please separate their waste and put it into those bins. And then if you can look at the bin in the middle, it's more the bins that we actually giving to the formal houses, which is now is the 240 liter bin. And then at the right hand of your corner, bottom right hand, that truck is actually loaded with all those see-through bags. That is part of the Think Twice. We've got a project that we first piloted back in 2009, whereby we identified certain areas. In those areas, we give them a see-through bag where they only put their recyclable material, their glass, can, paper, plastic, but it needs to be dry and clean, so it doesn't form part of your normal refuse, which you put it into your 240 liter bin. So those recyclables, they've got their waste collection day. Next slide. The challenges. What challenges do we have as a city of Cape Town? When it comes to the city, and we all know that The city of Cape Town has got a lot of tourist destinations. People are actually coming left, right, and center, flocking into the city. And the minute you've got quite a lot of people, they will definitely generate waste. And currently, the generation of waste, when we did a kind of a research back in 2008, it was actually growing by kind of 7%, which means on average, we actually generate more than 7,000 tons of waste daily. And each Cape Townian generates 2.5 kg. And we're trying by all means, that's public awareness and education, because that 2.5 kg also consists of recyclables. So we're trying by all means, as awareness and education, as well as waste minimization section, to try and encourage our communities, please only put on the refuse bin what cannot be recycled. Because once it gets into the recycling bin, you actually killing it, which means it goes to the landfill site. And we've got almost 2.5 million tons of waste that is being disposed yearly to our landfill site. And that is why our landfill sites are kind of filling so fast. We actually had 3 landfill sites 3 years ago. And in 2019, the one that was at Mbewe was actually closed because we were actually generating a lot of waste, and it goes directly to our landfill site. And as I've mentioned earlier, we actually manage only at some point to recycle 14% out of 80% of waste that goes to the landfill site is actually recyclable, which is what we're trying by all means encourage our communities to try and recycle as much as we can, because our landfill site airspace actually running out, and illegal dumping is actually costing us a lot of money. To clear up these illegal dumping cost us plus minus 350 million just to clear up illegal dumping, and that money would have actually been used for something else. I think, as I've already mentioned, that the city of Cape Town is running out of space to dispose this waste. That is why one of the landfill sites has been closed already. And at this landfill site, one of the I think, as we already know, guys that are actually environmentally advanced, they will actually understand that this waste, once it gets to these landfill sites, we kind of had some gases like your methane, that is one of the greenhouse gases, which is kind of dangerous. And once these landfill sites, that's one of the questions that I wanted to ask to the previous speaker. If they actually don't have any kind of initiative, if there is no kind of a promotion when it comes to recycling, and all they actually encouraging is the bearing of this waste, what happens now to all these land once they bury this waste? Because currently we also trying to the 2 landfill sites, we're trying to kind of harvest some kind of energy, which is what our other municipality, eThekwini, has already started doing. So that is why we're encouraging our communities to try and minimize waste that goes to these landfill sites, because we're actually losing a land to waste, which is what we're actually not encouraging. What is the city kind of doing to respond to all these challenges? As I've mentioned earlier, we've got a project that we call a Think Twice project. When we first rolled it out back in 2009, we identified areas, and those areas we gave them a see-through bag, and that project is still running. And we gave them a see-through bag, and then we've got a contractor that is responsible for collecting all those recycled material and taken into a plant and separated and go back into the manufacturing stream. And also under this Think Twice program as well, we've got one facility which is more of a transfer station, high-contained integrated waste management facility, which was built back in 2010. And what we've done is all the surrounding areas of that facility, we provided them with the 140-liter bin in addition to the normal refuse waste, whereby now they only, it's part of the Think Twice, where they only put their recyclable, which is your glass, can, paper, and plastic, but it needs to be dry, clean, and be flattened. And we used to call that, we call that project the DCF, dry, clean, and flat, but it falls under the wing of Think Twice. So that's one of the initiatives that we've got to try and minimize waste that goes to the landfill site. And then the second one, we've got the home composting, whereby if you can look at the bottom left, those are the containers that we give for free to the residents of the city of Cape Town, to the residents of the city of Cape Town, to compost all their organic material. And it's not like we're asking them to compost and then to go and fetch their organic material. We're encouraging them to recycle. So all their green waste, their organic material, they need to make composting. We provide them those containers. And we're sitting at just above 22,000 that we've already distributed. And we just stopped last year due to COVID. And we're just waiting now for things just to die down, and then we continue again. Sorry. And again, we also have top left, we've got to those bins as well, whereby if you've got an event, we can also borrow you those bins for you to try and encourage recycling, whereby now whoever comes into an event can actually put all their recyclable material to those bins. And then fourthly, as a city of Cape Town, we actually told ourselves back in 2009, we've told ourselves that let's walk the talk. We've got a waste paper recycling program. If you can look at the middle bottom, there are actually 3 color-coded bins where now all the city employees are actually encouraged to put all the recyclable papers and cardboard there. The one that is actually on your right, which is the blue, is for a mixed paper. Mixed paper is your newspapers and anything that is dominated by color come out of the printer. And then the middle one is black and white dominated. And then the yellow one is all your cardboard. You put it in that bin. So we're trying by all means to minimize the waste that you're actually generating. And then fourthly, waste minimization is part of also of the initiative to try and minimize waste that we're generating. We've got a trailer whereby we drive around our communities, where we encourage our communities to bring their recyclables. And in exchange, it's either we give them the food or we give them some second-hand clothing, depending on what we've got in store. And then top picture, you can see there is actually a truck that is actually trying to remove all the waste that has been dumped at our open spaces. So that's one of the services that we're offering. As I've mentioned, specialized cleaning is responsible for those kind of services. And also on the right hand corner, We've got our roto truck that is collection roto truck that is responsible for collecting waste within our formal houses. And then the middle stop on top of the waste paper bins. That is actually a new project that the city actually partnered with UCT. We've just started in one informal settlement at Durenbach, near Milnerton, Danun, whereby we're trying to see how that kind of a project can actually work so that we can roll out to other informal settlements. And then just next to it on your right, that is actually the baby bin that I was talking about, which has been rolled out to all the formal houses that is surrounding Kraaifontein Integrated Waste Management Facility, which is the 140 liter bin. And then at the bottom right, that is the trailer, which is actually doing the buyback shop, where we encourage our communities to bring their recyclables, and we give them food or second-hand some kind of a clothing. And then on top of it, we can actually see there is a resident with her own bags to the nearest container, which is being managed by contract management. Next slide. Okay. And then we, as I've mentioned earlier, we've got more than 30 drop-off facilities, where now you can actually take your green waste, your builder's rubble, we crush it and reuse it, your recyclables, some of the stuff that has been taken there, whoever won the tender to manage the facility, is either they sell it or they kind of repair. Let's say if it's an electronic waste, let's say your TV, some of the stuff you find that they actually working with just people, they want to upgrade. So they take it to these drop-off facilities. So the guys, they actually sell them. Yeah. So they also accept builder's album, and we crush it and we kind of reuse it. And the practical example was the Cape Town Stadium, which we built just before the World Cup 2010, whereby 80% of the concrete that was used there, it was out of these reused builder's rubble. As broader public awareness, education, and communication, which is now my job, we're actually responsible for changing the mental behavior of our communities across the sort of Cape Town. If your code is 021, it's actually our responsibility to change your mental behavior towards waste. Also to inform you about it. If you can look at the top left, there you can see it's actually a puppet show, which is that we kind of target the ECDs for the puppet show. We can target the ECDs to try and get some of it. If you see our branding there, is actually accreditation by law, where we're encouraging all the service providers within the sort of Cape Town to get accredited. They need to register on our database and get accredited. There we were at a drop-off, which is where they normally come in, and we do awareness and education. We encourage them to please, they must get accredited. And then middle wearing reflector we actually it is one of our transfer stations, because we normally use those transfer stations as tours to guys from Africa, all over Africa, to our neighboring municipalities, to our school, including the NGOs. We take them through the journey of waste by showing them how the waste is being disposed, and then from there where it actually go to. And then the second one, middle one, and there we were at the construction expo, where we were targeting as well the guys that are actually doing the demolition, so that they need to kind of apply for their accreditation. And then the bottom one, that one is a community expo, where, let's say, if I've got a certain project like informal settlement drive, where we go to informal settlement and also tell them about the service that we're offering to them, as well as waste management in general. We go to the heart of the informal settlement, we set up and we engage with them, informing them of what services we actually offering to them. And then the top one, project, and then the middle right there, it's actually one of the things that we do. We go to schools where we believe that we need to change their mental behavior while they're still young. And once we change their mental behavior, we know that they're going to carry that message to their homes. There we were partnering with some NGOs like President, as well as school, to form a recycling program within the school. And then the bottom one, it's one of the trainings that we normally do. We do mostly to the community leaders, because the influencers within, then they will take that message to our communities and encourage our communities. We, as part of awareness and education and communication, we also responsible not only to go physically to the community, we also do communication on behalf of the department. And that communication, we do it both internally and externally. And then internally, we've got some mediums that we kind of use, which is an earn form, which reaches each and everyone that is gotten access to the computer. So once you put anything on the EN form, it goes to whoever has gotten access to a computer. And we also encourage our depots as well to print those EN forms and put it on the notice board, so that the guys that are actually that don't have access to computer can actually read and see what is actually happening. And also we've got Wastecom. Wastecom is more like our electronic form. It's only for solid waste. So anything that is a waste related, we send through our Wastecom. And then we've got Contact. Contact is one of our newspapers that we actually put. If we need anything to be put out, we actually put it on Contact, and that one as well. It's internally, and it goes out quarterly. So we have like EN4 contacts that goes out a year, and also have City News. City News can also be both internally and externally. And we also have website, which as well is both internally and externally. And we also put out some stuff on mostly on the local newspapers, because you'd find, let's say, if you want to communicate a certain project, it only focus specifically on a certain area. And we've got like local newspapers that are targeting certain areas, like your Kailicha, Philippi, they have like your City Vision and Bukani, and then you've got Mitchell that has got People's Post, and then you've got Tiger Bitsar that has got Feedback. So depending on who is your target market, and then you put your messaging into that local newspaper. And also, we also taking advantage of the social media as part of the communication. Okay, can you put in the next slide? Okay, that is actually, I've already mentioned, that is also part of externally, where now one, as I've mentioned, we put things on the local newspaper, depending on which area you actually targeting. And also, we making use of our social media, your Twitter and your Facebook, to put out some stuff. We put out now some stuff around the accreditation, bylaw accreditation. So that's one of the things that we've actually done. And recently, one of our sister departments, which is environmental management, they actually bought a van whereby now they put all these departments, where now when we're doing our roadshow, we're actually going to use that kind of a van. And also, we use the spaces, which is our trucks, we use them as our moving billboards. So we actually write any messaging at our trucks, and you probably, if you are Captain, you probably seen some of the messaging that says the city, illegal dumping cost the city 350 million. So we're trying by all means to try and encourage our community not to dump their waste. So on your right, those are some of the pamphlets that we developed, and that one was more like focusing on the informal settlement. And then the bottom middle, that is actually a project which is also more specific. We call it Ocean is a Home. Ocean is a home because people, they don't care. They don't look after our water bodies. They just take their waste and dump it in our water bodies. They don't care where it ends up to, not knowing that this actually gets into the sea and it poisons actually our sea animals. So that project is more like trying to encourage our community not to dump their waste into our canals, our wetlands, and our rivers. Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Now I can actually entertain any kind of questions, and I've got my team as well. Will actually also kind of support if there are any kind of questions.
Thank you very much. We do have some questions from the audience. Everyone, please bear with us. Can I please ask for an extra 10 minutes just so we can get through some of the questions that we have? If you have a question, please pop it into the chat or ask for your mic to be unmuted, but only if you take like 30 seconds to ask the question. All right. So the first question we have is from Sister Alicia, says, which areas is Think Twice and composting bins rolled out? Also, how is the city dealing with behavior change, especially around illegal dumping?
The areas where we've rolled out the Think Twice, and then two, it's how do we deal with illegal dumping?
Yes, and then we are also interested in knowing which areas the composting bins is being rolled out. And we didn't quite get your answer to the first two questions.
When it comes to the areas where we've rolled out the Think Twice project, phases of the Think Twice project. One is where we started with it, where we gave our communities the see-through bag. We've got it at Helderberg, which is the Somerset side, and we also have it at the Sea Point and surrounding. And it was also rolled out at the Browns Farm, which is somewhere near Philippi, but it actually failed there, but it's still running at the Sea Point and Helderberg. And then we've got now the surrounding areas, the Kraaifontein and the surrounding areas, which is your Kraaifontein and your Belva, where we gave them the baby bean, which is 140 liter bean, to feed into the Kraaifontein integrated waste management facility. So the Kraaifontein and surrounding areas, they actually supplied with those beans. And then coming to the composting bin, we've actually tried to roll out across the city of Cape Town, but we are rolling it out like in phases. For instance, we would give, let's say, Kylie 5,000, Mitchell's Plain 5,000, Kraaifontein 5,000. But then once, because we find that our communities, they kind of drag their feet in terms of coming and collect the beans, we would have to go back again to make sure that when we first rolled out, it was a first come, first serve. But we did find out that it's only certain communities that have kind of an access into these beans. So we decided let's rather target areas now and gave them a certain number. So we've already rolled out to the Khayelitsha and surrounding and Mbewe and surrounding, as well as Kraaifontein and surrounding areas. So now we're actually rolling it out in areas. We're no longer rolling it out in phases. In terms of when it can be rolled out in your area, on our website, you can actually, if you visit our website, you see that we, at the moment, we actually not doing anything since we've got we are in COVID. And in terms of the areas as well that we've rolled out already, the list is actually there, so I can see if your area has been rolled out already. And then the fourth one was how do we deal with illegal dumping? Proactive. To try and be proactive as public awareness and education, we actually try and do awareness around the importance of not to dump our waste, and we even have a bylaw around illegal dumping, whereby and do now dumping, you can actually get a fine to 5,000 rand, depending on what you are actually dumping or littering. But then to be reactive now, when this waste has been dumped, we try and go and remove it into those open spaces. And also in addition, I think to 2019, the mayor was also involved in a campaign whereby now also was trying to encourage our communities not to dump their waste. And adding to that, last year, I've actually rolled out a project, illegal dumping drive and beautification, whereby I'm targeting the problematic hotspots where I actually clean them and also rope in other departments like the city park and to try and beautify those spaces. And we roll out education and awareness and try and instill a sense of ownership to the communities that are around those spaces. And also we've got these drop-off facilities that we have where people, communities can actually take their waste. And also when the city rolled out the illegal dumping campaign, they had a certain budget where now they bought skips and placed in some of these problematic hotspots, whereby now our communities can actually take their waste and dispose into those skips, in addition to all the infrastructure that the city of Cape Town is providing to them.
Thank you so much, Mayedwa. I think we have the very, very last question, and then we can wrap up. This has been such an amazing talk from both you and Happy. The last question is, how effective are your waste diversion programs, especially the buyback program, which I can only assume is in the informal communities?
It is quite effective, and as much as it's done by waste minimization, as part of because as part of awareness and education, I actually kind of need to go out and experience of what is actually happening. It's quite effective because what we are mostly targeting is the disadvantaged areas, whereby if you've got trailers and you've got these those guys actually looking forward at being its food, other than going to the most affluent areas whereby they won't care. So we're going into our township, and we go also to school. So far, last year as last 2019. Otherwise, when it comes to all these they kind of work, always have some kind of a challenge with in some spaces, because you is actually stuff that is drop-offs. But our community would be like, no, these drop-offs were supposed to be a wheelbarrow driven away. So I cannot actually hire a buggy to take my builder's rubble to the drop-off facility, but they must pay that we don't catch them, because when you're applying for a plan before you do your renovation, it has to you need to state there where are you going to take your builder's rubble before we actually approve.
Thank you so much, Mayedwa, and thank you everyone who has joined our webinar. This has been such an just information-filled session, and thank you so much for making time, Mayedwa. Thank you so much for making time happy, and thank you to everyone who has joined in and watched. This has been really, really amazing. Remember that we have our webinars once every month, and then we also have our back to basics workshops, which we aim to break down concepts and ideas to make sure that we're all on the same page and we're moving together. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you at our next webinar and Back to Basics workshop.